Computers, my laptop for the Zoom.
So I show it's 6:31, so let's call the meeting to order. So who do we have here on the planning board? Carol?
Carol Hofstas.
Chaz?
Chaz Sexton Duranian.
Laura Schifrin.
And Lance McNally. And so 1.2 chairman's additions or deletions. So I believe that we have one addition, and that's going to, and let me just put it at the very end, Beth, so don't let me forget about it. So hold on, I gotta blow this up. Let's make it 3.9.1, and that's the DLT grant for the Master Plan Committee. All right, with that, let's see, who do we have that dialed in at 783?
Hi, it's Kim Craven from Master Plan Committee.
Oh, great. Hi, Kim. Why don't we, on the first thing on our agenda, just go ahead and get an update from you so we don't ruin your evening.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate you taking me out of order. Let me just give you an update. At our last meeting, Karen Chapman from MRPC was able to join us. We had a really wonderful discussion with her about our chapters and suggested maps. It was really helpful to be able to talk to her about, different layers and different approaches. So we could kind of go back and forth and say, here's the things that we have in there. And she says, oh, we usually do this map or that map. And then we talked about some different options about what could be added, how we might present some of the information. So she went ahead and created a list, and we're all good with that list. She did say delivery time would probably be July. So what we're going to do is just put the placeholders based on the list that she gave us, so that as soon as they're ready, they can just be dropped in.
Okay.
And then we talked about how she would like to see things, and unless this has changed, when she went back to the office to chat about it a bit, but that once everything is set for their review, then they'll go through the other part of the DLTA grant services as we had requested, to just look at some of the numbers. Chaz will remember from our discussions, and you might as well, that different places give different numbers for things, and we just want to make sure that the numbers that we use in the master plan that we put forward sync up with what MRPC most uses for the numbers. So we're not pulling from a different source and having things look a little bit different, so that everything for our town will be consistent. So that seemed to be good with her, and that she said just a couple weeks turnaround time when we give it over to them, and that they will go ahead and do track changes and request a meeting if they do want to talk about something more. I said that we would, make whatever schedule they needed us to, if they did want a meeting with the committee members to talk over anything that's in the section. So, I think that our needs that we were requesting are going to be well met by the services that they're going to be providing. We also talked a bit that night, Chaz was able to fill in a little blanks too about the discussions on the water chapter. I guess that's going to get turned over to water, which is totally fine with us. It would be great. We can have a follow-on conversation with them, and then we'll be reviewing together the documentation that they have to pull out some of the key pieces. And I would have to go back and refresh my memory, but I think we talked about things that were in the 5-year term for them, of including them as well into that particular chapter. And then our group for our meeting this week are going to review the historical and cultural resources chapter and the circulation and transportation chapter. And then after our review on this Thursday, we'll be sending those along to Beth so that we can make sure that everyone on the planning board has those to review so that you can fit those in to one of your upcoming meetings for discussion. We are still moving forward, pretending that 21 is 2020 and that we will be complete by June. Even though our maps are coming in July, our part will be done so that we can get this wrapped up.
Okay, any questions, comments from the? Okay, any help that you need, Kim?
No, we do keep asking that, at each meeting to see if the board needs any outreach. But, I think, right now the DLTA assistance is being spot on for what we need. And like I said, the conversation with Karen was wonderful. And so I think, as more things crop up, we will let you know. And it's, definitely helpful having Chaz there, keeping us looped in with some of the other activities that are going on as well. The other grants and, program activities that you guys have going on. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for the update.
Okay. And we'll talk at your next meeting and I'll give you an update. Oh, I did want to add, I did have another conversation with FFM and really just implored him to, address some of the concerns that we had in some way. He had been mentioning that he had some other deadlines, understandable, with things being slowed down for them and then picking back up. But I did say that I was meeting with you all tonight and that we had our regular meeting this coming Thursday. And then I gave him the date of our next one of the 21st. And so that, we were really going to need something at least by that date so that we can reflect on it and get it integrated. I'll continue to keep you up to date as those conversations continue as well.
Okay, great.
All right.
Adria, how much time do you think you're going to need for an update?
I'm just here to help Beth talk about the MVP Action Grant. I'm happy to stay on in the background until we get to that in the agenda, unless you want us to jump in now with some thoughts.
Why don't we see if we can get it done, Beth? Or do you think I'm being overly ambitious? You're muted, Beth.
I think that's fine. I just was going to let the board know that the RFR for the MVP Action Grant has been released last week. So I've been talking with Adria about a couple of different action items and talking about getting the core team together. So we're basically going to resubmit the same grant with upgrades and with corrections. So what we're trying to do is take care of some minor action items on the list right now, and then possibly get the core team together if possible. I don't know if the board would be amenable to this, maybe on the 12th, next Monday night, if that's possible, and do like a grant work session. That would work.
That's on a Monday.
Yeah, so that's the next planning board meeting, the 12th. We had to move this meeting up a week because by the request. So we still have the 12th on the agenda, on the calendar for meeting. So I wondered if part of that meeting could be the MVP Action Grant, and we could invite core team members and just spend some time working on that.
It sounds good to me.
It would be interesting to hear during that time any lessons learned that folks have, because I know the town is working on a lot of other grant applications. And so I'm sure, requirements vary, but if there are any recommendations related to process, we would love to hear those next week.
Okay. Do you think maybe we can try to rope Ronnie into that meeting, Beth?
I could invite to, sure. Yeah, if that's okay. I would like to invite a couple of people just to put aside some time to reconvene the core team and talk about the areas that we have to work on. We have a bullet list of about 10 to 12 items that, and the other thing to note is the application is due May 7th, and it's an online application. So I'd like to submit that, if possible, a week beforehand. So it's over the next few weeks, it's going to be pretty busy getting everything together.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on MVP, Beth and Adria?
I mean,
Would now be a good time to talk about the MVP plan, Beth?
yeah, there. I know that is part of our standing agenda items, and I had distributed the Chapter 8, which will help us with implementation. So that's just something I wanted the board members to review, and then we can sort of get organized on the approach of how to implement the plan. And for now, make sure everybody gets a chance to read that and look through it, and sort of bring together an organized approach on how we're going to implement that. That's it.
Okay. All right, let's jump back up to the top then. All right, so does anyone have any questions from the minutes of the last meeting of the March 22nd? Carol?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 22nd.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
How do you vote, Carol?
Yes.
How do you vote, Chaz?
Yes.
How do you vote, Lori?
Yes.
And I'm just going to abstain because I was not there.
And we felt you not being there.
Oh, thank you. All right, so let me just jump because we can do 3.2 real quick. So thank you, Beth, for going out to West Meadow Road to look at the solar farm.
You okay?
I should call it the solar array, and great pictures that you took. You want to give us just, did any other board members accompany you?
Yes, Chaz and Carol both did. Yep.
Okay, and you just give us, are you the one that's going to give us a quick report?
I did distribute my report to you guys. I don't know if you saw it in your file.
Yep.
You did find that there was a lot of the plants actually were not present. So there's some work that needs to be done out there. But I have talked to the folks at Nexamp and specifically Jennifer Duquette, and she is going to be communicating with their contractor, and will be keeping us up to date on replanting what was missing or dead, basically.
I was going to say disheveled, but dead works.
So was I mistaken? Was there also fencing that needed to be that was required?
The fencing was present. Yeah, the fencing was fine. We didn't see any issues with that, right?
All right. So
No.
the big issue is the vegetation.
Yep. And in the decision there's also a report that's needed. So basically they need to provide a report with a certified arborist, which is not me, but liability of the existing.
And do we have a deadline on when they're going to have that completed?
I don't. I can follow up next week.
Yeah, let's get us, I think it'd be good to have a deadline on when they plan to have this completed so it just doesn't linger on.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Or else we'll probably forget about it, or at least I will.
Yeah, so the planning board would, I guess, in the future, based on the report from the arborist, would decide whether or not more plantings are needed or whether what they've done is sufficient. So there is some more steps there. And I'll keep everyone notified.
Okay, great. So it is now 6:45. So why don't we continue the public hearing on the scenic road bylaw? So we have a virtual clipboard going around, Zoom meeting. So aside from the board members, I'm showing Smiling Stan Dillis. Yep, and he's in Bad Larry's as opposed to his office. And then we have Karin on board. There he is. No, well, here I am with my water. All right, so Adam basically put together a red line version, and I don't know if we have to have it projected, but about the only comment, I had like 2 comments on it. So first of all, Beth, would you be able to find out what section we want to put it under? Because being a general bylaw, it would go on, I think, a 150 or a 160 as opposed to a 145. You're muted, Beth.
Yes, you're right. It's not going to go under a 145. And I have not yet submitted the updated draft of this proposal to the town administrator because the public hearing was still ongoing and we were checking on some things. But what I'm basically going to do is just put Article XXXX and let them fill that part in. That's not something we have to worry about. That's the town clerk or the town administrator who will put a number on it. It's just.
And the only really comment that I have on it, and my comment is based upon something from the building commission, building inspector, and Eric's comment was right now there's like 3 enforcement bodies: the planning board, the building commissioner, and the tree warden. And I used to always like to, when I had a real job, have one butt to kick, if you know what I mean. So if it's all right with the board, and we should probably vote on this, I would vote to amend it to basically be the building commissioner, providing that he accepts that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, we had some discussion on that, and that his department is very busy. So I think that would be one possibility, but I think I would definitely have a backup if you're going to do that, because I did throw that idea out to him. The hot potato.
So why don't we just vote on making it the building commissioner unless he objects? And if he does object, then we'll just make it the planning board.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any other questions on the scenic road bylaw?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
To back up what you just said. Well, back up or. So I read that, and I guess, so would this be just for the enforcement of it? Or is this, I'm not sure if we should have several departments or any other department, the planning board, in the bylaw. Where don't we normally go out for referrals anyway to all the departments? And wouldn't that be their time to chime in with how this action?
So I don't think we've ever gone out for other departments. I think that the process has been that if someone wants to alter a stone wall that falls within the right-of-way, that they're required to pull a permit, they're required to come before the planning board, and we typically will look at it, and just our standard operating practice has always been, let's take before pictures, let's take after pictures, and what have you. From an enforcement standpoint, the only enforcement situations that I'm aware of is when we get a complaint or a call about someone destroying a stone wall, where someone actually has to go out there, determine whether or not it's in the right of way, and basically talk to the landowners to and sort of enforce our bylaw.
And we feel that should be the building inspector.
Well, I think he's the one that's in my mind is running around, so he's out there. I think it's a lot easier for him than it is for the planning board.
And isn't that where they would get their permit anyway?
No, they would get the permit from the planning board.
Yes, and I can attest that the building inspector is busy doing a lot of work right now, which is one of his comments to me, that he would probably need additional either funding or staff to take on the role.
Well, I think in my whole tenure on the planning board, there's only been three
Right.
three incidences that required enforcement, and that was on Meadow Road, I think, and that was on North End Road, and that was on Adams.
And I can attest to the fact that you are very busy, Beth.
Yeah.
Eric,
Your plate is certainly full. So if we want to talk about busy staff and needing more help, we can do that.
So
I'm going to make the motion. I will make that motion that the building inspector be written into the bylaw as the overseer of stone wall issues.
and if he refuses that, it will be the planning board, but we want to make it one.
Okay.
yeah, definitely.
I second that motion.
All right, Carol, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chaz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Lance? Yeah. Beth, have we officially voted on this as a board to bring it forward to town hall
No,
meeting?
not yet.
All right. So can I have a motion for the planning? Well, let's see. Motion for the planning board to approve the bylaw for presentation at the town meeting.
So moved.
Okay, and I'll second for
Okay.
discussion. Are we looking at 145-91 Adams red line, which is a blue line on my copy, written as that being the bylaw we're voting on right now?
We're voting on the one that Beth had circulated at, I think, 4:00 or so.
Okay. That's
With
what I thought. I think that's what I have.
Yeah, with the modification with regards to enforcement.
I'm sharing this one, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and then at the very, very bottom of it,
Yeah, that looks like what I've got.
yeah.
Okay.
And, the bylaw shall be administered by the planning board. And
Yes.
what we would do is put building inspector, unless he decides not to, and then it'll be the planning board.
Okay. From time to time works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's going to say the building inspector, which I guess he likes building commissioner. I think that's his title now. You might want to check that. And so it should be written what the title is for that department head.
Okay.
And then, so by the building commissioner, so the as may be designated by the planning board from time to time is not going to be the verbiage.
No, I would just say that bylaw shall be administered by the building inspector or the building commissioner, period.
Okay, fine.
Unless he doesn't agree, and then it'll be the planning board.
But in a sense, you are administering it though. That's what the wording
You are administering it by having a public hearing with the tree warden. So I'm not, I mean, I'll check with town council on that one.
All right.
I don't know.
What, yeah, okay. However he says it has to be, but,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. All right. So there was you made a motion to accept it, Lori?
I did, and Adam's comment was that this was out of the realm of the tree warden.
That was under somewhere else. That was up further.
Oh, okay. Of course, I'm moving my mouse. God only knows what I'm getting. Okay, go ahead, Lance. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I guess a motion for the planning board to accept this proposal.
Oh, no zoning proposal.
Pardon? Excuse me. Bylaw.
I will if Chaz didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I did, but we had the motion, excuse me, we had the motion on the floor, sir, and then I think I would amend my motion to the verbiage that was agreed upon.
Okay. Carol, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chaz?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Lance? Yes. So do we need to have a separate vote on the planning board approve this unanimously to present at town hall? Or does that cover it, you think, Beth?
That covers it.
Okay, good.
That would cover it to move forward.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. So let's see, we're just about to our 7 o'clock time frame with 2 minutes to go. And then we had Karen join us. Hi. Okay, Chaz, you're ready with the mandatory referral?
As ready as I can be, yes.
You got to read the legal notice to open the public hearing.
Yeah, I know. I was just trying to put in some filler before 7.
Gotcha.
I couldn't pick on Karen that long. And I've already picked on Stan.
I'm used to it.
Yeah. So how's your internet working there on
Great.
Benton Pond?
It's working great.
Good.
It's good to come into the modern world.
Yeah, you're no longer on a broadband island or whatever they call it.
Yeah, no kidding. This satellite limbo.
Yeah. I think of you when I see the HughesNet Gen 5 commercial.
Think of me fondly.
All right, so it's 7 o'clock. So I'd like to open up the public hearing on the Townsend Senior Center. Let me start off with reading the legal notice. In accordance with MGL Chapter 48 and the Town of Townsend zoning bylaws, Section 14542, Site Plan Review Special Permit, and Section 14565, the Planning Board will hold a virtual public hearing on Monday, April the 5th, 2021 at 7 p.m. regarding an application from Townsend Senior Center Expansion LLC for construction of a 2,246 square foot addition to the Townsend Senior Center, associated sidewalks, and bocce court, located at 12 Dudley Road, Assessors Maps 28, Blocks 56, Lot 0, Zone Residential RA3. The meeting will be held remotely. The link for the meeting is blah, blah, blah. Or by dial-in, the meeting ID is blah, 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 and the passcode is blah, blah, blah. The application is available for review at the town clerk and planning board offices at 272 Main Street or digitally upon request to Beth. Parties wishing to speak in favor of or in opposition to the proposal may do in writing prior to the hearing or at a virtual hearing in person or represented by an agent or attorney. All parties are encouraged to attend. I want to remind everyone that there is a virtual clipboard circulating around. And in addition to the planning board members, we have Stan Dillis and Karen Canfield Moore with us. At this time, I'd like to have the planning board members introduce themselves. Let me start off with Carol.
Carol Hofstas.
Chad Sexton Duranian.
Lori.
Laura Schifrin.
And Lance McNally. Normally, I would go ahead and ask Stan to sort of go through an overview of the project, but I thought I would start off with the mandatory referrals that we have. And I think we have, Beth, someone just connecting to audio.
Yes, that was Mr. Shepard.
Okay, so we have Gary with us. Hi, Gary.
Good evening.
Okay, so Chaz, why don't you go through the mandatory referrals?
Are they in our packet?
They're up. Yeah, they're up on the folder on the OneDrive.
So I'm gonna.
Where should I be seeing those, Beth?
I have a copy of them if you want me to read it.
There. No, I have them. It's in the share drive, Lori.
I'm in there.
I was trying
Thank
to do the shorter ones first, Lance, if that's okay with you.
You do it in whatever order that you want to.
Okay. We have one from the fire department, which has no comments. Beth, I want to check with you. The last one that was on there, I don't know from what office that came from, dated 3/24/21. The very last one, I think. I'm not really sure what office that came from. I have the highway department offered no comment. I have a email from the town administrator. Please convey to the planning board and zoning boards that the Board of Selectmen voted unanimously to issue the following comment regarding the proposed expansion of the senior center. The Board of Selectmen support the project 100% and look forward to the senior center project being completed. I have a one from the water department. The comments for this are: a 90-degree turn are not to be used in forced sewer mains, only curved sweeping lines. And this is in regards to relocation of a sewer force main. 90-degree turns are not appropriate, and that is from the water superintendent. And I have one from the mandatory referral notice from the Neshoba Associated Boards of Health. Do you want me to read the whole thing, Lance?
I think I would first of all read the one from Eric,
Okay.
the building commissioner.
And that would be the letter. You want me to read the whole letter or just the conclusion?
I would read the whole letter.
Okay. The letter dated September 14th, 2020. No.
Yes.
That one? From
Hold on.
2020.
I got to pull it up then. Hold on.
Okay. It's proposed addition to 12 Dudley Road, map 28, block 56, lot 0.
Looking at the letter dated March 9th, 2021.
Okay.
I don't think I see that one. I see 3/31/21.
From the building inspector, I have received from the planning board on April 1st, 2021. It's a mandatory referral that says there are only two concerns I have at this time. One involves the number of rest facilities currently on site, which I have been working to resolve with the architect of record. The other is approval for the septic design from the DEP and/or Board of Health. According to Rick Metcalf, the original septic design was approved by way of a variance from DEP, and approval will be needed from DEP before approval can be granted. And then I have from the Board of Health. The Board of Health was also logged in on April 1st. And this was a memo from Neshoba Associated Boards of Health. I have reviewed the mandatory referral notice from the planning board office for the above referenced property and offer the following comments on behalf of the Board of Health. Proposed relocation of the existing septic force main will require a permit from the Board of Health. When the septic system serving the Library Senior Center at 12 Dudley Road was originally approved by the Townsend Board of Health, the applicant sought permission from the Town Board of Health and approval from Mass DEP to use an alternative design flow, 310 CMR 15.2036. As part of the application, the applicant submitted to Mass DEP a BRP WP70 application, water meter readings from similar establishments, and a proposed floor plan for the building. The Townsend Board of Health and Mass DEP based their decisions on the information provided at that time, and Mass DEP approved a design flow of 1,931 gallons per day per letter dated April 30th, 2008. As part of their approval, Mass DEP attached several conditions, and I have listed below the ones I believe to be applicable to this proposed project. The Mass DEP and Townsend Board of Health must be formally notified prior to any planned change in use or expansion of the facility. Since the design flows were based on a maximum occupancy of 120 persons using the dining hall, use of the dining hall is limited to 120 persons at any one time. To my knowledge, no such formal notification of the planned expansion has been provided to either the Townsend Board of Health or to Mass DEP. I've also attached the calculations used to determine the design flow of 1,931 gallons per day for you to review. It appears that calculations were based on building floor area and where the building size is proposed to be increased. I can only assume that this would have an effect on the approved design flow. This could potentially cause the need to alter the septic system flow. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact me and he gave his number and his email address.
Okay. Now, Beth, does Dan have a copy of these?
I do.
Okay.
Sorry, if I may, just the water department mandatory referral was revised, and it doesn't sound like what I heard Chaz reading. So could you I just want to make sure we have the same thing. It was revised on the 30th of March. One more comment was added. I mean, I could just read this for the record if you want.
Why don't you? You probably, because you have it right in front of you.
Okay.
Yep.
It's returns not to be used in forced sewer mains, parallel only curved sweeping lines, and then relocation of the sewer force main, 90-degree turns are atypical, as noted per the water superintendent. So I don't know if that's what you read, Chaz, but it didn't sound like okay, thanks.
So I guess, looking to you, Stan, and I'll let any of the board members chime in here, but sewage and septic and what have you, I don't believe is the purview of the planning board. That clearly falls within the, health department and what have you.
If you want, I can give you just a quick background on that too. We're working on that, getting that DEP variance amended and with the Board of Health, and we we were able to get the water readings from the existing building, and they're close to half of what the system was designed for, based on the last 2 years of water meeting readings. So we're working on formulating a submission to the Board of Health and DEP to get the permit updated, and them to agree that the system will not be impacted by the addition.
Okay, so would you prefer to get this resolved before proceeding forward with the special permit site plan review, or to handle in parallel?
I would think that it would just be appropriate for you to make that a condition of the approval, that we get Board of Health, we get a clean bill of health from the Board of Health.
That's what my plan would be. And so you would prefer to proceed in parallel then with the planning board activities, understanding that we would make that a condition of the permits.
Correct. That would be fine. That would be an acceptable condition.
Any other comments from any of the other planning board members? I just didn't want you to start like a peer review process, and then halfway through it, you guys have to make changes.
I don't think so. The only change we would make would be to put a couple of sweeps in that force main and get the Board of Health to it. We need a component replacement permit from the Board of Health to move that force main, and that would all be part of getting them to agree that the flow, the design flow for the existing septic system is adequate to service the addition.
Yeah. Gary.
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just moved my phone. I think if I were to offer a suggestion from the applicant, the donor, the benefactor, however you like, in the COVID time, it appears that there are 1,000 reasons why, whether the DEP or any other organization can't or does not meet. I would like to somehow suggest that there could be conditional, but any movement becomes at the risk of the applicant, because knowing how the organizations work, and I wouldn't care if they were sitting here listening to this, they can sit and choke for 6 months. And if we feel confident and comfortable and we choose to move forward at our own risk, then I would like it to be on our back and not a contingent thereof, which would hold us back for months. Now, what you all don't know is that this thing has sat in limbo, will be 2 years in August. And I'd really like to see it not go that route, because if it does, it's gonna go away.
Okay. I think that we're going to have I mean, we can certainly go on in parallel, but I think that, I think it's got to be contingent.
I'm just telling you where I'm at. You can all do what you want. Quite frankly, I've had enough. I'm ready to wrap it up. I'm ready to just close the door and say enough. So I'm looking for a little cooperation and not looking for the town to do anything, put them at risk. But this thing has been toyed with far too long. So do what you need to do. And if it falls on its nose, then we all understand the risk involved.
Well, we can certainly, Gary, we will certainly proceed along with it, and, you know, and then hopefully you'll have it resolved very quickly.
Don't hold your breath.
All right.
Thank you.
We're not going to be the ones to, you know, hold up in a site plan review. Let's put it that way. All right, Stan, you any other comments from any of the board members?
Well, just one other comment that Beth and I had a back and forth conversation today that, and I guess she consulted with Eric, which he didn't comment in his mandatory referral that we made in stormwater permit. The section in the stormwater bylaw that says the alteration of the grade by more than 4 feet requires a stormwater permit. And I think Eric told Beth that he thought the stormwater system triggered that, but I don't see how it does, because we're digging a hole, putting some recharge stuff in that hole, and we're filling it back in, and it'll be at the existing grade. So we're not changing the grade. We're putting something subsurface, but restoring the grade to where it was. So in my opinion, we don't trigger the need for a stormwater permit. And I don't think in Eric's original letter or in his mandatory referral, he brought that up. So I think we're good there.
Well, if I may, Stan, I also saw that, and it said that it wasn't in his purview anyway, but he wanted to bring it to our attention.
Yeah. So, we're really, the grade change here is minimal because the existing building is fitting to the existing building, and the driveway goes right adjacent to it, and we're not altering the driveway. So that would be the only place where the grade gets altered. But it's just a temporary alteration to basically we're digging a pit and putting some recharge chambers in there and then covering it back up with the sidewalk. So in my opinion, we're good there. And that was the only other thing that I think in my conversation with Beth that was brought up other than the septic issue, which we're working to resolve now.
Okay. I think that in my opinion, Stan, that would be something that we would look to get feedback from the peer review engineer on. And if the peer review engineer basically, agrees with you, then so be it. We don't have a stormwater permit, okay?
Do you think this rises to the level of requiring peer review? I'm asking that question. I don't think that it does myself, but that's not my call.
I think it does.
Can I ask why?
To speak about this.
Yeah, why?
Excuse me?
Why? I guess I'm not understanding either.
Okay.
A peer review.
Just because of the magnitude of the project?
It's a 2,100 square foot addition.
Yeah. What's your opinion, Chaz? What's your opinion, Carol?
I don't really understand the building. I understand the septic system design might be a problem, but I'm not sure about the other issues.
Can I back up what I was saying?
Why don't we do this? Why don't we have Stan, first of all, go through an overview of what this is first? Does that make sense, Stan?
I think that would be helpful. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Can I make one comment though?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about this back and forth, and 2,100 square feet. There are houses being built now for 3,000 square feet, and we don't do peer reviews.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't think the term magnitude is applicable here. But I'm just thinking. Okay.
Can I put my 2 cents worth in too?
Sure.
From what I'm seeing, that they're proposing stormwater mitigation under a sidewalk, and I'm not really sure if that raises to the level of having to have a peer review.
Okay.
At least that's how I see it.
I can answer that question as I go through my thought process here. It is a relatively small addition, 2,200 square feet. And where there's 3 parking spaces that were removed and they're being added back out on the other side of the parking lot. So there's no net increase in pavement or parking surface area. That stays the same. The roof runoff from the building is basically what we're mitigating, and we have that in that infiltration chambers, which are under the sidewalk. And to answer Jazz's question, that's an ideal place for it because it will never get disturbed. It's isolated from everything else, and obviously if it needed to be removed, but other than that, I think that's an ideal place. And quite frankly, we don't really have anywhere else to put it, and we're trying to isolate that drainage from that addition from the rest of the site and keep it its own separate system.
Okay.
And the bocce court obviously is a pervious surface, something like that, clay, but it's permeable. So I think all in all, it's a fairly minimal project given the scope of what's already there and the amount of pavement and parking that's already there and has already been peer reviewed and constructed and is working. So I really think that it's pretty minimal, and I don't see how or why it rises to the level of peer review.
Okay.
I also want to be sensitive to the applicant that I understand the amount of time that it took to get it to this point, and I certainly don't want to be in a position where we're holding this project back because of, that.
Okay.
And adding to that, I want to thank the applicant and for the town, because this is for it to go. I know everybody knows what the cost of everything is rising. Just the gas and the materials. This this philanthropist who's been so good to this town is spending a lot more money than he would have spent a year ago. And that's very sad for him. We're the fortunate ones, not him. He doesn't get anything out of this, but to help the community.
Okay.
And I just want to say that.
Yep. And I would like to do whatever we can to get this moving as quickly as we can.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else that you want to say on this, Dan?
I don't think so. I think it's self-explanatory. It's very straightforward. There's a couple of trees that have to come out, but other than that, it won't look any different in 6 months or once it's built. It'll look like it's always been there because the architecture will match. And I think it's a nice amenity. It's basically a meeting hall, from my understanding, and it'll provide some outdoor recreation space for the people that use the senior center too.
Okay. All right. And what are the other board members' feelings in terms of contingency on the Department of Health?
If we do, help me understand, Lance, they still have to work with the Board of Health, correct?
My mind says, listen, they're not going to be able to get an occupancy permit unless they get approval from the Board of Health.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
And all we would do with the contingency is hold up progress.
And I certainly don't want to do that.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Okay, I agree with that. So, do I have a motion to board with this? Yes, Gary.
Lance, I like what I heard. I'm not sure if that was the intent, but you're absolutely right. We will not get an occupancy without the approval of the Board of Health. So if the planning board approves this, one of our major hurdles, and Laurie, you're right, the cost escalation on this gift has gone up 25 to 30% since we began the process. So we would like to be able to be in the ground the end of the month and have the thing turned over sometime the end of July, but nothing goes as planned. So if the contingency is based upon the occupancy, I would salute you all.
I'm good with that.
Okay, just put a contingency on that occupancy permit. Well, I mean, do we really even need to do a contingency?
If it's based upon the occupancy, getting the occupancy, well, I don't think we need that.
I agree with you.
It's not in our purview. Somebody else is going to rule that.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So do I have a motion to accept or to approve?
I make a motion that we accept the application for as written for 12 Dudley Road.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Whatever.
Carol, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chaz?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
And Lance, yes. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you all.
All right. Now, everyone's not going to leave us with this meeting, are they?
If you want me to stay, I will, but I don't know.
No. Well, you don't have to. Get home and enjoy your cable.
Oh, gee. Thank you so much. Good night.
All right, good night.
Night.
All right, let me get back to our agenda. All right, so Beth, you know what else I would like to do? So I don't mess this up. Beth, are you there? You're on mute.
Yeah.
Should I make an amendment to have the chair sign this so you don't have to track down 4 people?
Yeah, what did you actually vote to approve? You approved the site plan review special permit with no conditions, is that correct?
That's correct.
Then yeah, that'd be great if you could sign it.
No, but don't I need to make a motion to be the signature? Don't the other board members have to approve that?
Yeah, that would
I'll make a motion to have the chair sign on behalf of the board.
And I'll second that.
Carol, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chaz?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
And then Lance is yes. And so Beth, let's see if we can get that decision written as quickly as we can, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
All right, let me move to 3.2, Planning Board Site Visit on 22 Messwater Road. We already did that one. 3.3, Age Restricted Development Zoning Bylaw Amendment Report to Town Meeting.
That was something that I had put together and I had sent to Beth, but there's going to be some changes on that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, which one are you on? I missed that, sorry.
Oh no, that's age restricted. Never mind, because I was on the 43D.
No, there's nothing submitted for that yet. It's outstanding.
Okay. Do we
Write it.
It's not the correct document in what you sent us.
I don't know what you mean. What document?
Okay, so I'm in April 5th Planning Board Work Session 3.3. And when I click on the second review staff comments, it's not the age restricted development. I don't
What is
think.
it in reference?
It references, oh, it does say age restricted. It's from Rick Metcalf.
Yeah, it's additional comments that were explored.
Okay, it does say staff comments. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's been some back and forth, and we've had Adam involved in that as well too.
Trying to navigate the cloud and all the documents that are here.
We all are doing. I'm doing the same thing right now. Scenic road. So I don't need that.
Well, 3.5 is a 43D warrant article report. Did you do that, Chaz?
Yes. And that's we need to take a vote on the 43D warrant article.
Yeah, but let's get the age restricted done first. In terms of what we have to do. And now
So the 3.3 age restricted development zoning bylaw, I have not submitted that report yet. I only got to the 43D. So was that what we're voting on, Beth?
You're not voting on it, you're writing it. Someone needs to write the report.
Yeah. I volunteered in the last meeting that I will write that.
okay. All right, so I'm 3.
I had a dream you were writing that last night. Yes.
I was writing the 43D one.
Okay. Oh, right.
So, all right, so that's, so on 3.3, Chaz is going to draft the report for the age restricted amendment, right?
Correct.
And where are we with the age restricted bylaw?
You've already voted on it. Well, I thought you were there.
We already voted it.
We
Okay.
voted at last meeting.
All right, I wasn't there, so that's why okay.
You actually voted it at the close of the public hearing, I thought. You voted to accept it.
I thought we did too.
Yeah.
That could be that that could just be gray hair here. All right, 2.4, Townsend draft interagency permitting application, Chapter 43D.
We were expecting John Hume to join us tonight, and he's not here. So any questions you might have, I can convey them to him at another time. But right now, Chaz has submitted the warrant, the annual report to annual town meeting. And that's
I read it. It was very good, Chaz.
My question to the board, Lance, would be, do we or do we not include the Brookline Street address with the warrant article?
Can I say something, Lance?
Yes.
Okay, so I see the memo from March 10th, but since our last meeting, I thought we had the discussion of putting it in, leaving it out, putting it in, leaving it out. And maybe I was dreaming about this too, but I thought we had the discussion that we don't know how long this is going to take. Having Squannacook still be one of the 4 that are being submitted through this 43D, and I thought I got this from you, Beth, too, that when it comes time to town meeting, we don't need their signature before town meeting. This is just to move it forward. And this may not even be to the point of where they would need to sign until after the Collins report is in anyway. So
I thought the school was quite adamant that the Squannacook was off the table.
well, look at his last sentence. The committee seems amenable to working with the town on this if the study recommends freeing up SECC. And we had this discussion, I know we did, because we read this last sentence, and they have vacant buildings. They have built, granted, this one isn't now, but they have vacant buildings that they are not utilizing, and it's costing them money, which is part of the reason why they're having this study.
Okay.
So I think the discussion back and forth that we had was, for the sake of the town meeting, we can just leave it in there.
It doesn't hurt, does it?
No. And if it gets withdrawn after, they really feel adamant, but their last sentence leaves it open.
And my opinion on that, I agree with Lori. I feel that if the Collins report does state that it's something that they really should look into, we have already covered those bases. I think the more bases we cover before we get to that point, they can always say no. We can get to the point where pen to paper and they decide not to sign. That's okay too.
Okay. So then why don't we leave it in?
Yeah, I think that because, and in a way, I don't blame them. Some of them felt, well, apparently all of them felt, although we didn't know it until that night, that this was being just sprung on them.
Yeah.
And that was not the case.
Yep.
I mean, we've been talking about this property since we started we've talked about it before, but for another reason. But since 43D started, which was August, September of last year. So that's not even going back to the February, March of last year when we had the discussion with the town administrator. Mm-hmm. And he was the one that offered it up and just never set up the appointment. Yep. So we haven't had the dialogue with them that we thought we were having before we got to this point. So I was taken aback by their attitude the night of the meeting.
All right. So, so we just leave it in. Anything else on it, Chaz?
That's the only thing that in the date of approval, we need to have a unanimous or a vote on submitting it to the town for town vote.
So do I have a motion to submit the 3D warrant article?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
You might want to amend it because in your report,
you have left out, the report that I saw, you had left it out, Chaz. You had left out Squanicook Elementary School, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So you gotta be
And
clear.
I also want to, and we'll have to put in the date. So what I can do is after this meeting, I will retype it and send it to Beth.
Why don't you be clear on your motion, though? Just make sure that you identify the parcels in the motion so that we have no issues.
Okay.
So why don't we have an amended motion? Yeah, can you make an amended motion, Chaz, to basically approve for going forward with it to the town meeting with that amendment?
Yes, and I'm trying to find the document to get the right verbiage.
I think you can paraphrase it.
Is that 12 Brookline?
16, I think.
No, it wouldn't be 12.
19, 16, I don't know.
That's what I'm looking for.
Because it's 12 Dudley is where the library is, and it's going to be a Brookline number that's in the 50s, I think.
I'm sorry, if I'm going to read it into the record, I want to have the right. Okay, I want to amend my motion to include 66 Brookline Street, map 27, block 4, lot 0.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, Carol?
Yes.
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 Lori?
Yes.
Lance, yes. Okay, is that good, Beth?
Thank you.
All
And I'll
right.
change that date and I'll send that right over to you, Beth.
Okay, thank you.
All right, 3.6, safe routes to school.
As I reported in our last meeting, we are meeting this week, April 8th, and I'll be able to report on that in our next meeting.
Okay, 3.9, a walkability and bikeability study status.
There's no update at this time.
Okay, so then we have notices from Townsend and other towns.
We have 3.9.1, sir.
Thank you. So there, Beth put out the DLT grant for the maps. Is there any discussion? If not, can I have a motion to approve?
I just had a question.
Yes.
If I have the right thing, it starts with the 30th of March, and we're already in April. So will those dates have to change?
No, they won't.
They won't have to change?
Nope.
Because we've already had those meetings.
Okay. All right.
It referenced a meeting that Kim had talked about in the master plan earlier.
Okay.
Okay, motion to accept?
Come on to accept the MRPC agreement.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
How do you vote, Carol?
Yes.
How do you vote, Chaz?
Yes.
How do you vote, Lori?
Yes.
And Lance votes yes. Okay, thank you for reminding me on 3.9.1, Chaz.
Okay.
I should have, if I had pencil and paper here, I would have marked up the agenda.
I have all the paper in the world tonight.
Oh no, don't tell me that we've lost part of the rainforest.
But I am prepared for the correspondence.
Okay, 4.1, correspondence.
I have several notices. I'll start with the town of Ashby. The planning board notice of decision for site plan review on 1093 Main Street, granted with conditions. The planning board also has a notice of public hearing for natural resource protection zoning bylaw proposal, providing for by right open space design for development that comes under subdivision control law. That's on April 14th at 7:15 p.m. virtually. There is also a planning board notice of public hearing, a zoning bylaw amendment proposal, floodplain district boundaries and regulations requiring permits for construction in Zone A and regulates recreation vehicles in Zone A and other regulations and requirements in designated floodplains. That also is going to be on April 14th at 7:30 p.m. virtually. And the planning board is also, this is a notice of public hearing, proposed modifications to the existing marijuana bylaw, define types of schools identified in the bylaw and types of manufacturing allowed in the bylaw. That also is going to be heard on April 14th at 7:45 p.m.
And what town is that again?
Ashby.
Okay.
So April 14th will be a busy time in Ashby. We also have Town of Groton Planning Board notice of public hearing. There is a definitive subdivision plan and special permit flexible development, Maple Ave, Pepperell Road, and Hill Road on March 25th. Oh, we've already had that pass. And then the planning board notice of public hearing for proposed zoning bylaw clarification amendment, adding detached accessory apartments and attached accessory apartments to the bylaw. April 8th, that is at 7:05 p.m. virtually. And finally, Town of Lunenburg, the planning board has a notice of public hearing to make alterations to Code of Town of Lunenburg, Chapter 250, Zone Article 4, use regulations, two-family dwellings, and general provisions affecting all districts, off-street parking, and loading areas. That will be on April 12th at 6:35 p.m. virtually. And that is all I have.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else before we call it an evening?
I would like to bring to the board's attention that when I was doing a couple of the reports, I did notice that in, this is off the top of my head, I want to say in January of 2020, we had voted to put a bylaw to change the wording on our
accessory apartment?
Yes, on the accessory apartment, that we voted that we would put an article forth for the annual town meeting at that time. And then we have not moved forward to that since. And I'm wondering how you want to deal with that one. It was a very small wording that, if I remember correctly, I left my notebook at work. I apologize, but it was shall be. It was something, a very small change that we wanted to add to it. My assumption is that we're too late to do it in this. We probably need to do it in the fall.
Yeah, I would think so. Beth, do you recall that?
Do I recall what? I'm sorry.
Chaz was, I remember that we had some concerns with some wording in the accessory apartment bylaw or zoning bylaw, and we actually had met with the Department of Health on it.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently we were going to bring it forth to a town meeting, and apparently we forgot.
Okay.
And it was it was a year ago, approximately.
Yeah.
Can you sort of dig back in your records to see what it was and everything?
Sure.
It was something that Select Woman Kell had brought up to our attention that we had talked about.
Sure. I'll follow up with that.
Okay. All right. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
moved.
All right.
Second.
Carol, how do you vote?
I'll second it and say yes.
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
And Lance is yes.
Thank you.
All right, good night.
Well.